So Classroom of the Elite episode 9 kicks us off with this new arc where our students are trapped on this island for a week and they have to survive. But what I love about Classroom of the Elite, and this is the thing that's always kept me very interested with this series, it's never been a specific character or even the setting being this school. What's always had my interest the most is how the school functions with these points, this point-based system that literally anything in this school can be bought. And I believe it was in that fan service episode a couple of weeks back, like the mid-scene credit that comes on after the commercials, it said that you can even buy your way to a different class if you have enough points. And that's what I really love about Classroom of the Elite, is you never know what these points and what this system is going to do for the characters, because literally, you can do anything in this school with the right points. And this transfers over to them being thrown onto an abandoned island, where essentially I didn't know what they're going to go with here, and I should have assumed it was going to function in a similar way to the school, where they get thrown on this island and they have a set number of these specialty points, which they can buy things like a functioning toilet, food, things like that, medical supplies, whatever they need, they have the ability to buy it. But how many points you have at the end of this, based on the fact of you get the, like, I think it's like 300 or something you start out with, and also the way you capture these spots that you can hold for 8 hours at a time. Basically, if you can pinpoint who the other team's leaders are, things like that, the more points you have, the more you're going to have once this is over for your individual classes, which we know this is desperately needed in order for them to survive a healthy school life. So it's this entire matter of, like, one, you want to be able to find their leaders, but if you guess the leaders wrong, you're going to suffer points. You can gain 50 points or you're going to lose 50 points if you guess wrong. You have to hold places, but you have to renew it every 8 hours. What type of supplies are you going to buy? Because you have the basic, you have the essentials, but if you find a good spot to camp for basically the entire week, you may not have to buy certain things. And I like this because it adds a completely different element than you'll see, I think, in any other anime, where you have characters, you know, quote-unquote, stranded on an island. We know, of course, if something bad happens, there's a boat that can protect them, but still, it's this element of unknown on top of this familiar element of basically the point system, and I love that, because this gives it a completely original flair to an unoriginal setting, but kind of original for anime, because you don't typically see stranded island kind of like cast dynamics in anime, but there's been plenty of mediums that have done something like this. But I like how the point system is like kind of being implemented here, and I love really the concept of find the leader, because this is really cool, because you got to be careful of who you pick as your leader, but at the same time you have to be careful that your leader isn't seen basically securing a camping spot. And I like what Class D does, where they surround Horikita basically in a circle, so if someone was spying on them, they're gonna have no idea which one of the 10 people around there is basically hitting up this camping spot. Now, our main character, Aino, does see, I think it was like Class C, maybe, I forget what class it was, one of the leaders coming out holding his card. And it seemed a little too suspicious to me that someone would willingly just like walk out of the cave with their card. And I think Aino is also kind of like thinking that, like, even though I know this guy is supposedly the leader, he's probably thinking in the back of his head, he's not going to just say he is the leader until he has a bit more proof. That's how I feel. Maybe he truly is a leader and Aino believes that, but it just seemed a little too kind of suspicious that he would walk out and say, like, we gotta be careful, when in actuality it's probably the guy next to him who was the actual leader securing the spot. But overall, this was a very, very interesting episode. The way it was starting out, I was getting kind of the assumption that this wasn't going to be an amazing episode, but a good setup episode for this arc. But it quickly turned around, like, one of the Class C girls who is like getting beat. It literally seems like she's in a very abusive class, based on what she's saying, that her class doesn't help anyone. It's just a matter of like kind of survival of the fittest, and she's having this kind of place of comfort within Class D, and I'm going to be interested how that's going to play a factor, because we know they can earn points in so many different ways. If someone gets sick, you're going to lose points, which someone seems to, you know, already got sick or got sabotaged there. So there's so many ways that they can lose and gain points, and I'm curious that if they do help this girl, if that's going to somehow gain them points, maybe lose points for the other class because another class had to help out one of their own. There's so many ways that they're going to be able to take this, and I'm really interested in the outcome, and also what's totally going to happen with our main character, because he's someone who keeps an eye on everyone, but at the same time, he knows he has to get involved when he needs to, but he doesn't want to be in like kind of the forefront. And I was expecting he was going to be the leader for Class D. Then when Horikita got kind of like confirmed for it, it kind of made sense, because Aino's always kind of given the praise to Horikita, even when he is the mastermind behind the plans. But of course, the class thinks Horikita is always the one doing it, so it makes sense that she would be the leader. But at the same time, I would think that the other classes have already taken an eye on Horikita, so you would think that they would want to give it to someone like Aino instead, because they wouldn't expect him to be the leader. But really, there's so many things to kind of keep track and kind of like think of when they're stranding on an island, so they're probably not thinking that far ahead. But I do like how basically Class D is kind of thinking to themselves like, okay, if we can't find food, if we can't find water, we can basically do this and we'll have like, if we follow this kind of plan, we'll have at least 130 points by the end. But then everything kind of starts falling apart here. And I like that because you never know what's going to happen. This is kind of like just a very interesting Survivor kind of match here. And I'm going to be interested to see ultimately what's going to happen with EK, I believe is his name, the guy who seems very kind of like good with camping and things like that. He knows how to look for clean river streams, he knows how to build good fires, things like that. But at the end of the day, I'm curious if he's going to be one who is going to get sick, but he's not going to go back to the boat to basically get treatment because he's not going to want to basically cause issues for his team. I think something like that could happen, but I was a little curious, like when he was drinking out of the river, which if you are camping, sure, there is ways to identify if a river is clean to drink out of, but you would think because there is such a penalty for getting sick that he would maybe take the water, boil it first to make sure it's sanitary, things like that. And I'm curious if they are going to do things like that going forward, or if someone's going to get sick, they're going to try to just kind of pass it off as no one is sick so they don't get penalized. There's so many ways that they're going to do this. There can be sabotage. There's so much that could happen in this arc. It has me very excited. But overall, it's a very interesting cast dynamic. Even though Aino is definitely and Horikita are probably the best characters in the batch, I do feel like all the characters have some sort of flair that gets implemented when we watch them on screen. And even if I don't remember certain characters' names, it still feels like I have fun watching them because it's such an interesting cast dynamic when you have this point system implemented with their characters. But I'm excited to see what happens next week, and hopefully we get a couple of episodes with them on this island. I'm really enjoying this arc so far, and I'm dying to see what happens next week. But let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. What do you think of this episode, and who do you think is going to get sick next? Because I feel like someone's got to be getting sick. EK seems to be the most likely one, but if you think anyone's going to get sick, who do you think is going to go out first? Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. And before you leave, smack that like button, share your support. If you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe. So until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.